So over the years, I have seen hundreds of businesses spend thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing that just doesn't work. And that was generally what led them to us. Not because we're so great, but because generally speaking, they got tired of all the hype and all the promises. It isn't because their products were bad, their services were bad, they didn't have a great reputation. And it wasn't that their team wasn't trying. It's because their marketing generally lacks the foundation of what we call great marketing. So today, I want to give you 10 words that if you get these words correct and understand that they sit underneath all the tactics, I believe you will clearly understand the art of marketing, at least the way we think about it. These words aren't going to be words you've never heard before. They're essentially timeless. They don't change when the algorithms change. They don't change when the platforms change. They won't change because AI is out now. They don't depend on trends. What they will become are tools that sit in your tool chest that will help guide your every decision in new campaigns. These are the same words we think about in strategy sessions with when we've helped our clients over the last 14 years generate well over 300 million in revenue. So if you're ready, let's dive in. Word number one is clarity. You already probably know this, but people don't buy what they don't understand. In the marketing world, we say if you confuse, you lose. We say this, don't make them think. We want to make sure that whatever we're doing in marketing, our message is clear. We don't want to get fancy. And that's one of the things that's happening right now with AI. As I look around LinkedIn and I look at my email box, I can tell who's using AI and I can tell who's outsourced their thinking of clarity to the AI LLM. The one thing about your message is if you confuse, that customer will be gone. Ultimately, clarity is one of the most underappreciated superpowers in marketing. Clarity will help you decide what to do, but more importantly, what not to do. And so, what I want you to do after you finish watching this video, of course, is take a look at your website. Take a look at the last 5 emails you've sent out. Take a look at the landing page that isn't converting at the rate that you would like. Take a look at your ads on social media or Google and ask yourself this question. Are we being clear about the problem that the person would have who wants to get it solved with us and they know exactly what's happening? I hope the answer would be yes. If not, it could be costing you a little bit of money. Let's move on to word number 2. That word is trust. Everyone knows the old adage, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. The funny thing about marketing is it's so hypey these days. Like every time you turn around, you look around, someone's got 8 emails in your inbox telling you if you don't do it now, then you'll lose out. We obviously are coming into the holiday season. So Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and the whole holiday season is about to kick in. Listen, at the end of the day, hype fades, scarcity fades, the price discount fades. But what matters is your personal and business credibility. Your prospects are already skeptical about everything else going on out here in the market. All of the phone calls they get, the random text messages from area codes that are not even in their country. They're skeptical for a reason. They've been burned by other vendors, other providers, other service people in your own industry. I know it is in mine. You know, our clients have been burned by freelancers, other agencies, consultants, even staff who they outsourced their work to, thinking that they were hiring experts, but then the work never got done. The results never happened. So one thing in your marketing you always want to keep in mind is our marketing building trust with our market in advance of them needing us? One example that comes to mind is a client that's in our inner circle, and she works in a market in Chicago. And the marketplace she goes after is for people that own homes. Now, the one thing about someone who owns a home is they are likely going to need her service at some point in the future. The problem is we don't know when it's going to be. So when you're marketing to a person who may have the problem in the future and you don't know when they're going to have it, it's really hard to show up just at that moment when they're going to have the problem and show up in all of the places that they might go looking when the problem occurs. I'm not going to get into the specific niche and give away her business model because we work with her to help her grow. But the point of the matter is when you work and put trust at the heart of your marketing, you're going to go out into the market. You're going to show proof. You're going to share results. You're going to publish your process. You're going to highlight customer stories and case studies, because each one of those touch points, whether it's on social media or whether it's on your email, whether it's even in ads, we're going to get people to say that, if I ever do, I want to do it with them. And some people don't like to put this type of work in. They want to run to Google Ads and hope that Google Ads will just keep the cash register running. They want to go to social media and put things on sale if you're in e-commerce and just hope that's going to make your business model run. You've got to put the trust cycle in the equation. What happens is when you get people to come into your world and believe that you're the person who could help them if and when they need you, you'll win. Word number 3 is relevance. What we like to believe is that great relevance meets people where they are, not where you want them to be. So oftentimes, I'm sure you can think in your marketplace, you see a TV ad, you see billboards on the side of the road, you listen to radio commercials, or open your social media and you see things that are just not relevant to you. The interesting part about that is if you're not relevant and you don't say anything relevant to that specific person who sees your marketing, not only do you lose the opportunity to get them in your world to do what we said a moment ago, which is build trust, but they might actually unsubscribe, block your connection on social media, and just completely blow out your opportunity. So, a few years ago, everyone was talking about growth. Everyone was talking about growth at all costs. Everybody was talking about growth hacks. But it was really funny because what we like to think about is that is the marketing relevant for the person at the stage of the buying journey that they're in? It's a very unselfish way for us to think about it. So often, I know we got goals. I know we got to make profits. I know we got to make sales. I know we have our KPIs. But one of the things that we've learned over the years is that if you scale at all cost, you actually become irrelevant to the market that could actually scale your business down the line, right? So it's a balancing act. 25 years ago or so, when I was in the mortgage industry, it was never an emergency for someone to buy a house today. It could have been a good idea. The rates could have been great. They could have had the cash, but it was never an emergency. For example, I live here in a city where there's an Air Force base and we would have Air Force personnel being transferred in on a regular basis. One of my niches as we expanded the practice was to help our military personnel buy under the VA loan program. Let me tell you something. When that person got a hold of me, when they got their orders to be here at the base 10 months later, they were not transacting a mortgage or buying a piece of real estate in June when they weren't going to be here stationed here until February of the next year. So the relevance is giving them what they need now and then making sure that we have built the trust, right? And they know clearly how we can help them when they're ready. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for you to just listen, ask the questions, listen, and then figure out where they fit in your pipeline so that you're relevant with your right message at the right time. Word number 4 is value. There's a lot of talk online that says lead with value, provide value. You're on YouTube watching this or listening to it on our podcast audio network, and we are showing up here to hopefully provide some value. The problem is the internet is a wild place with a lot of people on it. And so you never know if what you're providing is valuable to the person, except when you speak it only to the right person who it would be valuable to. If you're trying to sell in every message that you put out, then you're already going to be behind. We try to say that when marketing is done right, we are leading with value. We are building trust, as we've said before. We are clear about who we can help, what we can help them with, and the problem they might have that might lead them to us. And we just orchestrate that with purpose. I was thinking about a gentleman by the name of Richard, rest in peace. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago in COVID, and he attended some of our early workshops back in 2017, 2018. He ended up joining our accelerator program, and he was in the financial services and accounting space. And I remember him saying to me, Darrell, I've been to your events. I'm a fan. We love your frameworks. We're doing well, but I don't quite understand why you don't charge that much money for these events. Our events were like $197 for the day. Our 8-week program back then was fairly inexpensive. I think it was $1,500 or $2,500. I don't remember what it was exactly, but he knew that what he was getting in terms of value far exceeded what he paid. That's the sort of mental shift. And he literally was like, I don't know how you make money, Darrell. And I said, Richard, here's how simple it is. I don't know when you're going to need our agency, but what I do know is you needed help with this topic, the topic of the program. And I said to him, my marketing angle with you, Richard, is that because I know you're an ideal prospect for us, but you're not ready today, my job's to give you so much value so that when the time comes, if the time comes, because it may not ever come, that you decide to hand over your marketing to a company like ours, I'm going to make it extremely hard for you to say you're not going to do it with us. And he was like, I got it. Word number 5 is the word story. And I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I've ever thought about story the way I have in recent years. I think that as a salesperson, someone who's been in marketing and sales for 30 plus years as an entrepreneur, I, as an entrepreneur, always feel like I'm telling a story. I'm always trying to tell a story that gets people to believe in my cause, not because I'm trying to be facetious, But they say facts tell and stories sell, and everybody's heard that cliche, right? But the thing that's important that I see happening in marketing is so many people get caught up in the features, the advantages, and the benefits. They get caught up in the specs or the stats. People get bought up, they get caught up in the process, or as Myron Golden likes to say, the pieces, the process are not why they buy, right? They buy because of the payoff. So they buy because of the connection. They buy because of some of the other words, the clarity, the trust, right? The relevance. All of these words start stacking if you are paying attention. Every client, every product has a founder story, has a product story, has a customer story. That's what's more important today, especially in a world of AI. You've got to use those stories. You've got to tell the stories of transformation. You've got to tell what we call the hell to paradise story of your best customers. You don't necessarily put your customers' names in there, but you got to tell the story. Here's where they were. We call it hell in paradise. I want to say I got that from Brett McFall. He put it in a great analogy of taking them from hell to paradise. Thank you, Brett, if you're watching that many, many years ago. But listen, when you start to bring your prospects into the story that they're already saying in their mind, we talk about this in our empathy map process, in our 90-day sprint work that we do with our clients when we're clarifying their buyer persona, we're clarifying their story, clarifying their message and all that stuff. We want to really, truly understand what's the story going on in their head. How do they talk about the problem that you can solve? So often we want to talk about the problem that we can solve because it's our product or our service, the way we understand it as technicians. If I jump back 20 years ago, or not 20 years ago, but 15 years ago, no one knew what SEO was. When we started doing SEO and getting people on the first page of Google and their customers started coming in from Google searches, it was never easy to explain SEO. And today it's just a nightmare. The goal that I'm trying to point here is that storytelling is really the true, authentic way to cut through in your marketing, especially in a world where AI can spit out marketing a mile a minute. Dig deep into your storytelling. What are your clients telling you? What are your coaches telling you? What are your team telling you? What are your shop workers telling you? What are your manufacturers telling you? Tell us about the story behind the product or service and how you solve the problem. Word number 6 is one of my favorite of all time. It is a sleeper, not just in the world of marketing, but in the world of achievement, in the world of goal setting, in the world of accomplishment. The word consistency is the word that is so important to move agendas forward. So often people want some magical pill. They want something to happen overnight. I lost 38 pounds like 10 years ago. I was about 30 something pounds, 40 pounds overweight. And it would have been really nice to see if I could come up with a plan that could get that weight off in 30 days. Well, it didn't take 30 days to put on. It took a couple years to put on. Consistency matters. Marketing isn't just this bunch of random things you throw together. It's a consistent rhythm that's repeated over time. So often when you see companies that have this big arc up and to the right on their chart, it isn't this one thing. It was what we call compounded consistency. People get bored in this topic when I bring it up because it's consistency that compounds over time. Everybody gets it in finance, right? Put in $166 a month if you're at the age of 21, and by 40, you'll probably have $1 million just simply because of the power of compounded growth. Well, compounded growth only happens from consistency. You don't put $166 in your bank account or your investment account and stop at 25 and then get to $1 million. No, the math formula says $166. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. I learned it when I was in college. $166 over the time period. If you start at 21 until 40, I think it was, right? I could be wrong. The point is, you can't post just 1 or 2 times a week and expect that that's going to grow your business. You can't run ads when things are on sale and expect that that's going to grow your business. You can't decide marketing is important in the third quarter, but when it wasn't important in the fourth quarter of the prior year, so you could lead into the current year. You can't just run these one-off campaigns to think that it's going to fill up your pipeline. I learned this the hard way many, many years ago as a solopreneur in the real estate space. And I didn't have a team or anything like that, but it was so interesting. You prospect. Your pipeline gets a little full. Next thing you know, you stop prospecting so you can service those customers that are in your pipeline. You make all the money, then you look back and you've got nobody to work with. That's the same thing in marketing. You've got to be seen on a consistent basis. That's why in our work, we have the brand awareness strategy that we use on Meta, particularly Meta and Instagram. It can be done on YouTube. It can be done on LinkedIn, TikTok if you want to, but it's most effective on Facebook and Instagram. And it's a simple budget where we take about $500 per month. And all we do is essentially run brand awareness campaigns so that we are top of mind with the clients prospects so that people know who they are, know what they can do, understand that if they have the problem, when they have the problem, they know how to find them, because everyone's trying to play at the bottom of the funnel. But consistency is across all stages of the buyer's journey. It's during the summer, it's during the winter, it's during the spring, and during the fall. People say, when should we start this marketing campaign? Tomorrow, if you didn't start it today. There is no right time to start. Not right now, people are procrastinating, saying, well, I'll just wait till the first of the year. You got to be consistent. We call it, by the way, in our agency, we call this the always on campaign. Always is this brand awareness campaign, because consistency matters that much. The next word is authority. There are a lot of people, including myself, because you're listening to this random dude on the internet, on YouTube, or listening to us on the podcast. By the way, if you're a recurring listener, you've been listening to us since 2019 and you happen to be here today, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. This podcast has taken all sorts of shapes and sizes and turns and twists. Thank you for being here with us all of this time. The word authority is really interesting because there's a lot of people that hail themselves as gurus. They do a couple of things, and next thing you know, they're a business coach. They grow a business and do whatever, and all of a sudden now they've got the only way to do something. And listen, I'm sitting here talking to you about our way, and I've been beating on this craft for 34 years, so I don't call myself a guru whatsoever. Authority isn't about ego. It's about your expertise and making sure your expertise shines through to your perfect prospects. Let me give you an example. In our work, we believe in email at a very, very deep level. Some people are discounting email in the hoopla with search and social and AI. But let me be clear, until and unless you don't go to your email to sign up for utilities, for your rewards programs, and all of these other things, until email is not a confirmation mechanism, email is still important. So that being said, we believe that when we are building our great email sequences for our clients, we are wanting to make sure that the client doesn't just, we're not showing off the ego side of how successful they are or how they've helped someone. We are trying to showcase their expertise so that when that perfect prospect has the problem and reaches the point where they decide that they are going to purchase a product or service to solve the problem they agree they have, that they believe it's your expertise they want in their corner. It's about being the person that we said earlier that they trust, or the brand that they trust, to help them solve that specific problem. And if you don't build authority, you will have no choice but then to scream louder about why you're cheaper, faster, or whatever. And we call that commoditizing your product, service, or expertise. Build the authority by teaching, by educating. You know, one of our clients is across the country in Virginia or Maryland. I can't think of the name exactly right now. And he's in a business that is very physical, meaning it's work. He's in the trades. And so it's not common for him to talk to people about the thing that he physically does with his team and his crew. But what we said to him was, what if the people that are your perfect prospects have ever been burned by someone who does what you do? And I said, is that true? He said, of course it's true. He goes, well, wouldn't you think that they're going to wonder what's different about your service when they need it, when someone else in your industry has burned them? And he was like, huh. I'm like, I'm not telling you to walk around and photo or video your business all day while you're doing the work of your craft. What I'm saying is share your expertise. Tell your audience how you do your thing there. Like, what makes you do what you do and why you do it. It doesn't mean you've got to have a cameraman walking you around all your projects, but you've got to help them think differently about their challenge and about how you handle it, which will elevate your authority. Eighth word that'll help you master the art of marketing is what we call personalization. Personalization. A lot of marketing tools today talk about personalization. I'm not talking about putting someone's first name in the subject line of an email. When we talk about personalization, we're talking about marketing that doesn't feel generic, that feels personal to them. That way it doesn't get ignored. You know, one of the things that is interesting about personalization, especially now in the world of AI, is it's getting to the point where you can almost customize a message specifically to every single person, prospect, or customer in your database, assuming you've got the money and the technology to pull it off. I'm not suggesting that that's what's critically necessary. But what I would say is that when you have personalization that even speaks to the person's problem, that's one way of looking at personalization. You can speak to the person's personalization by way of geography. You can think to your prospects' personalization by way of income, school they went to, the type of person they are, the job role, the association they belong to. Sometimes the personalization just comes down to the point where they can simply say, they're talking straight to me. When we run campaigns specifically, we try to get personalization down to the most narrow identifiers as we possibly can, especially on the front end, because when we're spending dollars, we're spending dollars to buy customers because that's what it is. People get all twisted. We are buying customers. I don't care if you do organic marketing or free marketing, paid marketing. It doesn't matter. If we're investing any time, we're spending money, whether it's people's money, capital and ads, whatever it is, we're spending money. The goal is to buy customers at a profit. Don't get it twisted. We're trying to buy customers at a profit. So if we're going to try to buy a customer at a profit, then how do we make sure we get the right person to raise their hand and see us and come into our world and kind of work along this journey with all of these other words that we talked to the previous 7? When we are personalizing their message to them, they say they're speaking exactly to me. They lean in. We love to say the word lean in. Some people, they all come to us and say, hey, we need more leads. We need more leads. We need more leads. I'm like, yeah, but a lead doesn't mean they're ready to buy today, but can we get them to lean in? Can we get them to follow your Facebook page, your Instagram page? Can we get them to join your email list? Can we get them to open the emails? Can we get them to click on the emails? Each of those are what we call lean in steps. Each of those are signs of engagement that something you've said was personally interesting to them. And of course, today in our agency, we use tools like HubSpot, we use a Score app. Of course, we're using AI more and more. But personalization is not just about what you do to automate the process, right? It's really taking what we call in our empathy map, it's really empathizing and understanding with someone's journey. And I think when we market and we're lazy about that and we try to group everything together, I think that's when marketing doesn't work very well. So personalization, 8th word that'll help you master the art of marketing. The 9th word that'll help you master the art of marketing is the word momentum. Momentum. I love this word, especially when we connect it to one of the earlier words, consistency. So often people want this big spark, this big catalyst, this big win. They want someone to come in and do something sort of to flip everything over that has happened in the past. Maybe things haven't been going well. But I got to tell you, when you take the earlier word consistency and tie it with the word momentum, that's when things get real nice, right? So consistency is, are we going to show up every day and do the thing we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it? Momentum is what happens when you show up every day and do the thing you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, right? I remember reading in the book, The Slight Edge, there was a concept, I believe it came out of The Slight Edge, one of the best books I read, and that had to do with consistency. But it also had to do with a word called patience, which is not in my list today. But that is doing the thing long enough for the work to do what the work does. Do the work long enough for the work to do what the work does. It's easy when we think about a farmer, right? We plant a seed, and when the farmer plants the seed and they put the water on it or what have you, they don't come back out the next day looking for the plant. They need the seed to do the seed time work so that it can have the harvest time work down the line. And the word that we want to stack together is momentum. Are we actually sticking momentum into the work that we're doing? Are we emailing once a month, or are we emailing once a week, or are we emailing 3 times a week? Are we running ads occasionally when something's on sale or when we need demand, or are we running an always on campaign like we talk about in our world? Are we really taking a look at every communication to see if we're stacking, right? Are we stacking wins? Are we stacking trust? Are we stacking reputation and authority? Those are the kinds of things that make sense. So many times, a lot of people in marketing, they love to run experiments. They love to run tests, right? We do have to run those. But those are the things that might be able to show where you might go down the line. But you can't keep your pipeline full with just random tests. You've got to build momentum, and momentum turns your current situation into massive opportunity. But you got to have those other words that we've talked about prior: clarity, trust, authority, relevance. You see these words kind of stacked together. Then we start to see momentum. Momentum in our world for us looks like what we call in our trust flywheel process, which is we really want to say we're not trying to build a funnel ever again. Like, we're over the, I mean, I've been over it since 2017, quite honestly. But this idea of a funnel is just false. Here's why. Go get a funnel in your world and pour some water in it. Doesn't all the water come out the bottom of the funnel? Yeah, it does. So, this whole concept of a marketing funnel, I've just struggled with for a bunch of years. What we want is something like a flywheel that's always in motion and picks up momentum as time goes on. I rode a 10-speed bike all the time when I was a kid, and that bike could move as fast as I wanted it to move and as fast as I wanted to make it move, but I could also slow it down if I needed to. But the bike usually kept spinning. The flywheel keeps going. Once the flywheel's in motion, results come faster with less effort and with better results over the long time. So when we're thinking about this concept of momentum, once we get it, you have to make sure that the rest of the flywheel is in motion. So often we have companies contact our agency, and sometimes we have to say we're not really a good fit, and they get offended, not because we're trying to be uppity or whatever, but if you're not at a certain size and we put our work in your world, it's going to hurt your company. And we cannot do that. Number one, we've done it. Like, we've been in business 15 years. We've made this mistake before, like showed up and put all of our sauce into their deal, and they didn't have the operational infrastructure. They didn't have people who wanted to grow as much as the owner or founder did. I can tell you that momentum can be a problem in some cases. So you got to get all of the systems right as you're working through this momentum. Last but not least, also one of my most favorite words, because I do think of it as the word that makes the world go round, and that is optimization. In college, I studied a concept called Kaizen from Japan. The Japanese talk about this phrase, specifically the Toyota Motor Company. And I got real up and close with this word during my studies in college. And this idea of continuous improvement, Tony Robbins introduced it a different way, and he introduced it as constant and never ending improvement. However you think about it, it influenced me so much that one of my companies is called CANI 365, CANI 365. Constant and never ending improvement. Constant, never ending improvement in marketing is a never ending process. Every campaign, every system can be improved. We don't have to get everything perfect to get great results, but we can't take the results we get and just live with it. What we think about is wherever we're working, there's going to be something in the flywheel that could be tweaked or modified. It doesn't mean that we can't take time to celebrate when it's going well. We can, and we should, and we do. But we also got to be mindful that there are leading indicators to what's going well. There are also leading indicators to what's not going well. We've got to find out where the stuck point is. In our business, in our world, and in good marketing, you've got to measure, you've got to learn, you've got to adapt, and you've got to continue that process. You got to have a mechanism to do that. Whether today you're using AI, and hopefully the AI can bring some quick thoughts to you in that regard. You've got to have great reporting. You have to have great software so you can see the numbers, and then you've got to know what to measure so you can change what matters the most. You've got to know what to measure so you can change what matters the most. The most successful marketers aren't necessarily the smartest. I've owned a marketing agency, co-owned a marketing agency, and owned a marketing agency since 2011. Y'all, I don't have a marketing degree. I didn't go to school for marketing. I went to school for finance. In fact, I went to school for engineering and then switched and went to finance because I had an entrepreneurial bug, and I was already working in business management at the time. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but you've got to be the most adaptable. That's one of the things that's a core philosophy of people that work in my company. You've got to be adaptable. We work in marketing in a world that changes the speed of AI right now. It's changing crazy. Like, I've never seen the pace of change be so crazy. It can be overwhelming, but the adaptable people understand data. The adaptable people understand what small tweaks can be made and should be made. They understand that this is an improvement process week after week. This isn't turning everything upside down. This is optimizing in the whole of a growth system or a flywheel, not a guessing game. So those are the 10 words, at least according to me, Darrell, this random dude on the internet who owns MindShift Digital, right? Let's go back over the 10 words. The first one, clarity. Second, trust. Third, relevance. Fourth, value. Fifth, story. Sixth, consistency. Seventh, authority. 8, personalization. 9, momentum. And number 10 is optimization. These aren't buzzwords, they're principles. If you get these right, every tool, every tactic, every platform you work on, I promise you, will perform better. Marketing isn't about chasing the next big thing. I get the itch to do it just like you. So I'm not preaching to you. I'm just saying these are the realizations of the life behind the scenes of running hundreds and hundreds of campaigns with my teams over the last 15 years. We are talking about mastering the fundamentals of growth, the fundamentals of marketing by applying these consistently. I guarantee, almost guarantee, depending on what you're willing to do, that your results will change. So here's my challenge. I want you to take 5 minutes today and audit your marketing against these 10 words. Where are you strong? If you just took a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being crushing it, 1 being, boy, we got a lot of work to do, put them on a chart. Put each word there and give yourself a score. Give your own self audit. At the very least, you'll go back to that very first word. You'll leave this very video with some level of clarity. That's what I would recommend as your next move. So listen, if this episode resonated at all, if it got you to think just a little bit, you will understand the reason why we call our company MindShift. Because if we can help you shift your mind, we'll help you shift your results. And that's exactly what we do at our company. If you happen to be interested in looking for some help or having a further conversation, you can click a link somewhere in the description down below or visit us at mindshiftdigital.co. We also help a bunch of entrepreneurs and marketers in our Inner Circle program, and you can find that at mindshiftinnercircle.com. Either way, don't miss our next video. Click the subscribe button. As they say on YouTube, smash the like button, whatever that is. If you happen to want to smash a thing, you don't have to do that really. But anyway, I'll see you on another video. Thanks for listening. Hopefully your marketing is heading in the right direction, and I'll see you next time. Take care.